Hey there, Vic. Thank you for joining me today.
Uh, thanks for thanks for having me.
So,
I looking forward to this actually.
yeah, as am I. So maybe just to start us off today, if you could tell us a bit about your background and just your trading experience more broadly.
Well, so I'm not really so much of a trader. I'm in cybersecurity and CEO of a testing company, and we actually test several cybersecurity products. Company's called NSS Labs, and we're fairly well known in cybersecurity circles. So, uh, but in terms of trading, it was more of I was just looking at different investment vehicles, and I stumbled across through sort of a friend of a friend the forex market, and from there the MQL5 stuff, and just kind of stumbling blindly because and I don't have I'm an executive. I don't have a lot of time on my hands, so uh, I I'm not one of those people that can spend thousands of hours kind of right. Although I do when I get into something, I do tend to dive into it and try and understand it. But my job is fairly time consuming, so not a huge amount of time with it. But uh, from there, actually, I saw your video
Oh,
or
cool.
one of your videos, and then from there it was like, okay, what's this whole thing about? And it seemed interesting, and I like the idea of fundamental based trading versus like, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I think that there's technicals good, and I've learned a lot about that. I'm good enough to be dangerous, if you know what I mean, but not good enough to actually be good.
I think you're
So,
being humble. You're very talented technically as well.
well, no. Okay, computer technical, but like when it comes to all the trading stuff, like I had an ISP early in my career, and I learned sort of there's three kinds of people. There's the folks who knew what they're doing; they were never in any trouble. The folks who don't know, and they know they don't know, and they just want your help, and they're really easy too because you can kind of walk them along. It was always the guys in the middle who thought they knew something, but knew a lot less than they knew. They were, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think where I have enough knowledge to be dangerous, but not enough knowledge to like really, like, really know what I'm doing. But uh, you know, I guess enough that I know how to make money with it at least. Let's put it that way.
And
So
to clarify, you came through our YouTube page. So you found some of our videos, and that's kind of what
yeah,
led you into the ecosystem.
yeah.
And how's your experience been so far with the prop bundle and our various EAs?
Well, I started off with what was Golden Time Bomb at the time,
Hmm.
and then I went from there to the Golden Time Bomb Pro, and then from there to the prop bundle because you were just getting that started.
Yeah.
And my experience has been really good. I don't actually do prop firms yet. I mean, I just literally this week started doing a copy trader because I'm in the United States,
Yeah.
and MT5 is fine for U.S. residents to trade like with brokers directly, but not with none of the prop firms, right? So that makes it a little bit challenging. But on my personal accounts, I've been trading with your EAs, the prop firm bundle, and I've found it to be really effective, especially in this current market regime where it's been largely bullish. And I mean, for those of you watching this, the video uh, it, I'm not even trying to say your name right. It's Genghis?
Jengis.
Genghis. All right, sorry. It's the C that makes me. Anyway,
It's a tough one. Like it's all good.
yeah. So the uh, the video where you talk about sort of the, you know, using the leverage and then cutting your losses so that you've got the, high R or high rate of return, like 7 RR, 5 RR, whatever it is, and then 0.33 on the loss or whatever, basically having a much pretty good stop loss, and just making sure that you win a reasonable amount, not even. But I've been finding that I'm winning over 50%. And the other things I've been mixing these again because I'm not using it in a prop firm. I've been mixing them together in a portfolio
Yeah.
to diversify, right? So, I've got the Nikkei, and I've got the DAX and the whatever the European stuff,
Like the
the
German
stock,
stuff, like the longbows, the core
right? I get the
longbows.
longbow stuff there for the German, and so basically Europe, or Asia, Europe, and then the U.S. with the Nasdaq or S&P, and between so I've got those three areas covered, and then gold is sort of tends to be when the market goes up, gold tends to go the other direction, right?
Inversely correlated, yeah.
Right, and then I use what I find is that if it's a really bad day in the market, was like for example today was not super great, but the time bombs then kick in.
Do really
So
well. Yeah.
I've been using for those of you the time bombs of the opening range breakout, but basically all that's happening is if it's breaking through certain ranges, then
It scalps and uses a trailing stop loss to capture that.
right. So I'll do that fairly aggressively with like 1 or 1.5% on those opening range on the breakout ones, so that if it's a loss of let's say a 1% loss on my Nasdaq, then it's probably going to be the US 30 is going to make up for it.
Well,
so.
yeah.
Right, and if it does well, then what's interesting is that either it stays within range and does well, and nothing happens. But if it breaks out of the range on the upside, then I kind of get a double dip, right? Which is also really interesting. So I find that a combination of the type of asset or type of EA that you have, combined with the diversification of style, right? And the fundamental versus the scalping.
Scalpers with the longbows together.
Right,
You've done an
right.
amazing job of building that portfolio too. I think one of the reasons why you've had so much success is that you have a passion for the trading itself, and you know how to kind of stack different styles and strategies together. And maybe you can also tell how you've been using Rocket along with Orbs to really build a holistic portfolio.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So of the gold ones that I've been, and I'm down to basically using Golden Rocket, and I modified it a little bit from your default settings. I think I sent you those settings, so that it's a little bit more aggressive. But what that does is also it gives me, like, when there's a big move, the Rocket will kick in and really kind of take advantage of that big move. So when we start combining like the different things together, like there's always going to be a loser on any given day, just to be clear. But what ends up happening is that I'll end up getting like overall on a day, like 3 or 4% a day, which is insane. And I think you've seen my FX book, but it's since early June, I'm north of 100%, which is nuts, right? And I know that's not going to maintain. It can't possibly. So anybody who expects to get that, to be clear, I'm not saying that that's what you're getting.
No earnings claims here. Like, it's just
no. And it's also because we've been in a after the
market,
the Trump tariff, the April stuff, we've been on a big upswing in general in the market. So this has really been advantageous to take advantage of it. Now that we're hitting tops, we'll see what happens. What I'm finding is that the longbows are still effective, but a little bit less effective lately, last couple of weeks. But the breakout ones are really doing well again. So I don't know if you've been seeing the same thing with yours, but
I've been seeing on mine. You really have to be selective as to which markets you're using. So that's why, like, doing the rolling account approach and catching winners on different asset classes has been very effective for me. Like, if you try and stick them all in one account, as soon as you enter a less bullish period, it's not as quick. But if you kind of do our rolling account approach, where we're constantly starting new accounts and we're trading different markets, usually something is trending, and that one passes pretty quick. Like, gold was crazy 2 weeks ago, and I almost passed the funded next with that. So it comes down to just being holistic and diversifying.
Well, yeah, and I have to say that, like, the idea of the put call ratio in particular seems to be really, really effective. I think I forget what it's called, the COT, the trading book, like institutional or like whales, what they're doing, as they're reporting. So you just sort of do the remora thing and follow them.
Sure.
Like that works. But the put call stuff really seems to be really indicative of where the market's going to go. I mean, that's been, what's been interesting is that I think that combining that with the sentiment analysis that you've put in there with, I use Perplexity for sentiment and then Claude for the,
Stop
and
loss
then just the other
modification.
thing for the stop loss. So anybody who's watching this, instead of having a static stop loss, one of the things I really like is that depending on like what's happening in the market and how much volatility there is, I think you're using the volatility index, right?
I usually use the previous day's range, and we can
Okay.
essentially determine the stop loss based on that, but the AI picks tight, medium, or wide.
Well, maybe that's right. 'Cause I saw some stuff that the AI was talking about what's it called? The volatility, the IV or whatever.
The VIX,
IVX.
the VIX, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So again, I'm not super. I mean, I know something, but and again, enough to be dangerous. But the VIX was subdued, and therefore it was recommending going with a very small stop loss of like 0.25.
Right.
Right, which means that when you can, it's interesting how it adjusts it, and that seems to really mean that it widens it out when there's more volatility, so you don't get stopped out too easily, which is what you find with live. It's a more static approach, right?
And the prompt is done specifically to do that as well. Whereas if it anticipates further news or if it anticipates VIX levels, it can then perhaps make it wider or looser. But that data is actually it's fed to the LLMs to give away a few trade secrets here, and it does make a really positive impact.
It really does, because again, today was kind of but I actually have a couple that are still running, like the Japanese one. I turned off. I used sentiment analysis on the Japanese one, and then let it run, and it's way up today.
It's been, the Nikkei has been flying the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, so, but so there's some of the American longwood, and it started off okay, and then it I don't know what happened if Trump went to Alaska and sold it to Russia or something, and everybody freaked out. I'm making that up, everybody. I have no idea.
It was like core retail sales today. That's what got us. So that was.
Oh yeah. So, and I think there was also some consumer sentiment or something like that was off. But Anyway, so yeah, I mean, in general, though, to be clear, like I got mutual funds with Fidelity. I have my Nvidia and AMD in my tech stocks because I'm a tech guy, and I'm a big believer that two ways to grow an economy is either get more people or innovation, like just basic economics 101. And so putting money in the tech sector in general is what I like to do, because I think that's where the growth is and that's where the money is. Okay. And obviously I'm a tech guy, so I have a little bit of insight in terms of what to buy and what not. But this is just, it rounds it out. And so I've got, the traditional stuff that's very, very safe, and then I've got my little bit more aggressive, a couple stocks here and there. And then I've got the Forex CFD stuff that I'm doing with you that is, or your EAs, that is more, it's definitely more aggressive. But what's been surprising has been sort of that I expected there to be a lot more swings to the downside, and I haven't really. I've seen swings to the downside, but not with your stuff. To be clear, I tried a bunch of other EAs out there, and there is one of the, as you know, that I use a lot. That's pretty good. Should I mention it just to?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, so there's one called AIQ from Brandon Autry that is. Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. And, I tend to use that for all the Forex itself, not like
the FX pair specifically.
Right, exactly. So, the New Zealand Canadian dollar pair. So I tend to do more of the mean reverting, like back and forth, and it gets a nice stable baseline of a few percent a week, which is still fantastic, right? But then on top of that, I've got your longbows, and then I've got the gold, the rocket stuff, and then I've got your breakout stuff. And if you
You
kind
build
of
a
piece
true
it all together,
portfolio.
yeah, you can piece it all together. It tends to balance out so that you've got, diversification of the type of asset that's being traded, and then the style that's being used, and the philosophy behind it, and so on. And so,
It really
yeah,
smooths the equity curve. And I think your
yeah,
ability to kind of build a portfolio with different EAs is another reason why you've been having such massive success, is because like every developer and every company brings something to the table. Some people are currency experts, some are commodity experts. I'd say I'm a big fan of indices. So if you can kind of holistically build a portfolio, you can
yeah.
really it's like an all-weather portfolio. Like Ray Dalio would be proud of us, and you can really smooth out the performance.
Yeah, and just to be clear, everybody, like I don't have time to be babysitting this, right? So I think one of the reasons I've been fairly successful is, and I know this is true with AIQ, is as well as with Golden Rocket and all of your longbows, is once the settings are there, like I let them run, and some days are good, some days are not so good. They have their ups and downs. And apparently something just was you or me, but something just did something.
Somebody has MT5 running in the background.
Yeah, that would probably be me. Okay, I have the thing. I'll close it out. I got the thing open on my remote desktop there. Anyway, so I just let it run, and I don't mess with it too much. I find when I mess with it, like I did the other day, as we were talking about, and then Forex VPS
Oh yeah.
had their outage. That's when like bad things happen. So I like anybody who's doing this thing, I'd say is if you're doing it by hand and you're like think you're gonna like at least me, I'm not a dumb guy. I see stuff, I look at the signals and go, ooh, now's the time to get in. And it's probably what everybody else is thinking. And then the wheels go, oh, they're going to jump in now, and then I get clobbered. So it goes the other direction. So like I tend to trust what the EAs are doing, and when I do that, I do well. If I try and spend time on it, the amount of money I make is inversely correlated to the amount of time I spend on it.
Trading is the only thing in the world where that happens. Sometimes like too much attention in trading is a bad thing. You just end up overdoing it. So maybe for our final question today, could I ask you what your favorite and your least favorite aspects of kind of being part of the prop bundle community have been?
I think my favorite part has been actually that you've been putting out on a daily basis what's trading on any given day. So I have some like forward. I could just look at it at 5 p.m. or whatever the time is, and just say, oh, okay. And then I can check it whatever 9 or 10 p.m. before I go to bed and say, oh yeah, the ones that are supposed to be running are running.
Yeah.
And initially, when they wouldn't, I'd be like, oh, there's something wrong, and then I would look like, oh, it's because the AI sentiment analysis was bearish or whatever, and I left it be, and then sure enough, like let's say 5 out of 10. It's like 8 times out of 10. If I had been in, I would have lost, right? So, just again, that's probably the favorite part is just sort of letting it, like having some visibility of what to expect and know that it's doing what it's supposed to do, or if I can check to see if it is or isn't for some reason.
Okay.
Uh,
So if
yeah,
it works, you know why, and if it isn't trading, you know why.
yeah. And say that, and my least favorite, it's not necessarily in your group, but there tend to be some people that get in these different chats that get fairly whiny and complaining, and they like to blame everybody else for their own stuff, which I'm not a big fan of, which I'm sure you're not a fan of either.
No comment.
But I think just in general, though, that if you're doing the MT5, the MQL5 marketplace, and I think you've been covering this a lot in your videos. I fell for a lot of the scammy stuff early on and spent hundreds of dollars on stuff that like ended up. Thankfully, I would either use demos or small dollar accounts, but I let them run because I would, I don't have time, and they would, oh, hey, it's doing great, and then boom, blows up on me. Like, now I know why, right?
The
But
martingales and the grids and all that stuff.
right, exactly. So, that's probably my least favorite part about it is it would be nice if there was more honesty in it. And like, I do testing for a living, so I was tempted. I think we talked about this to actually. Well, maybe I should get into it, but I was talking to my CTO, and he's like, no. We've got our thing in front of us. We got to focus on our thing that we're doing. So,
You guys are going to solve the AI revolution, so you have bigger fish to fry.
I got bigger fish to fry. We're talking about that too. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Vic, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and yeah, I'm sure our YouTube community will be really appreciative.
Yeah, hopefully this has been helpful. If you don't have the prosperity prop firm bundle, I guess that's what you're calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the different fund manager stuff, the longbow funds or whatever. If you're going to get one, and just pick one of them, get the longbow fund manager that switches between like the asset depending on what's trending. Like, that's been, I think, the best one for me in general. But if you're thinking about getting it, and there's a lot of scammy stuff out there, but this stuff actually works. So, and I've been happy with it. Just, my strong recommendation is, like, use the settings that you get and don't touch it. Like, let it do its thing and be patient. And start with a fairly small dollar number until you get comfortable with it.
Absolutely. Like, starting small and scaling is always the smart approach. Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Vic.